Okay, this is chapter 1, part 2, picking up with the Spanish Empire exploration and conquest. So 16th century most powerful empire, the Golden Empire, was the Spanish. After planting Christianity in the Western Hemisphere, establishing Hispaniola colonies, they continued onto Puerto Rico, onto Cuba. Motivation was to serve God, the king, and get rich. If you've ever heard of using the term the 3 G's for exploration, God, gold, and glory, definitely part of it. Clash of culture between the natives and the Europeans was a huge part of this. Advanced weaponry made the Indians slaves a lot of times because they used wooden canoes. The Spanish had steel swords, firearms, explosives, armor. Spanish also used horses and greyhounds to instill fear. 1519, the first conquest by Hernando Cortez, a major Indian civilization, the Aztecs. A big part of that was the conquistadors, military entrepreneurs, and from Veracruz with Cortez to take over the Aztecs. The Aztecs were nomadic people who had settled and built Tenochtitlan, now Mexico City, had paved roads, markets, one of the most powerful civilizations, elaborate urban society, legal system. Their religious beliefs were centered around nature. They also practiced human sacrifice, often use that to justify assaults on other tribes. But they are going to be the object of basically a goal to conquer for people like Cortez. He set out to conquer the Aztec Empire and basically came in, entered the city with deception, and captured the emperor, made Montezuma his puppet, took gold, forced him to provide more laborers for Cortez to mine for precious metals, and later the natives will rebel against their leader, actually stone him to death, attack Cortez, and later it's going to take a few more years and they come back in defeat. Okay, so after the Aztecs, several years later, 1521, Spanish would kind of come in, reinforce, and defeat the Aztecs, cut off their water supply and food, and allowed smallpox to go and basically decimate the population, and that is going to set a lot of precedent for following conquest of other Europeans. Spanish America overall used the encomienda system. Officers became wealthy. Landowners controlled the Indian villages. Those later become haciendas, basically great farms or ranches. Native Americans almost go extinct in the West Indies, and African slaves eventually will take their place about 1503. Indian population, like I said before, went from 50 or more to about 4 million, and white population in the same areas went from about 100,000 to 3 million in the same time frame. So Spanish missionaries are going to use kind of this conversion idea by force until people like De las Casas said, you know what, let's do better treatment of the natives, and maybe that'll work out better for us in the long run. Okay, comparing and contrasting Spanish, French, and the Dutch in the New World. The Spanish exploration, we've talked a lot about that. Spanish are going to have this national unity, lots of riches, and that really works to their advantage. Most of the U.S. territory was Spanish, lasting imprint seen in many areas, a lot of blending of religions and cultures. A lot of major explorers, people like Ponce de Leon, the conquistadors, responsible for a lot of that North American exploration. Hernando de Soto, west coast of Florida, moving up to the Carolinas. Coronado, exploring the U.S. West, searching for gold. England and France overtook a lot of that part of the U.S. because Spain didn't see the value in making a market economy, taking a more long-term approach for a lot of these. St. Augustine was the first European town in present-day United States. Soldiers assaulted some of the French Huguenot colony, and Spanish Southwest are going to kind of keep that hold in that area. Missionaries were used to help control the natives and use religion rather than fighting, and the Indians are going to revolt against a lot of that control later on. Pueblo Revolt in 1680 was the biggest defeat against the Europeans in the New World at that time. Took the Europeans 14 years to regroup and 4 military assaults to regain that New Mexico territory from the pueblos that had taken over. Horses were a big influence. At first, it was illegal to sell or to give horses to Native Americans, but as they began to spread, especially after the Pueblo Revolt, a lot of Native Americans took those horses and spread those throughout the continent and trade and took that opportunity to spread horses, and that changed and reinvented themselves as horse tribes, made them better hunters and better warriors. French colonization was much different, much friendlier, but they were the first major European rival to the Spanish.